So it's going to be hard to follow two very technical talks, but I see some very new faces, some old faces. But for those who don't know me, I'm Chelsea, and I'm going to be talking about bridging the skills gap from a student's perspective. And this was working. There we go. So about me, I'm a final year forensic computing and security student who has recently returned from placement. I was at EA doing incident response, so very high pressure environment. So this talk today, easy peasy. So I have been doing marketing lead at Secure South for Southwest Cybersecurity Cluster for about 2 years now. So I'm pretty familiar with giving talks in the cyber environment, because we do a monthly talk there too. And most importantly, I have recently taken over as Cybersecurity Women President for the Bournemouth Society after Iris, which leads me on to what this talk is about, because today my most important point is, as president of this society, I really want to help students build the gap between going from graduate to getting a job in cybersecurity. So what is the cybersecurity skills gap? We're going to navigate the cybersecurity landscape and how to close the skills gap, and how academia and the industry can collaborate to help, as this is a problem on both of our parts. So I have notes not to forget. So increasing demand for cybersecurity professionals. So obviously we all know cybersecurity is always evolving and increasing as a problem, and people have decided there's not enough skilled candidates in the market. Now, skilled is a bit of a controversial term, because I would say plenty of people are skilled, but not a people are got enough credentials, I would say. So for skill sets, everyone needs hands-on experience, which is leading to not enough students graduating with practical knowledge instead of theoretical knowledge. And the evolution of technology is not helping. I mean, nowadays, every single sector within the industry needs a cybersecurity professional. I mean, healthcare, retail, everyone's got one. Everyone's got unique needs. And how is this impacting organizations? Well, security teams are overworked, underfunded. It's resonating with people. And that's leading to vulnerabilities and not quick enough incident response times. So industry versus academia. So industry allows us to have practical hands-on experience, skills and certifications, soft skills, and to keep up to date on threats. But people are not getting these industry placements. Students are deciding not to go on to placement. People aren't managing to get graduate jobs outside of uni. People don't actually know what skills and certificates they're supposed to be getting. Professionals can't seem to agree on what the most valuable skills and certifications are. And too many people actually, there's a huge shortage of soft skills within tech, especially in graduates. So many people are focusing solely on technical skills, and they just don't have these soft skills anymore, such as like communicating between teams, not just your own team. You work with other teams, you work with different companies in like consultation roles. And academia is teaching theory focused work. We have limited exposure to real incidents. We have an industry placement shortage. We have outdated tools and technologies. So we have many experienced and challenged difficulties. So many students' first exposure to the real world is a capture the flag competition. I myself, I think as a little fresher, new, my first experience probably was a capture the flag. I think I turned up, I didn't know what was going on. I'd never done a capture the flag. I'd never had any hacking experience. Access to tools. We have access, but after being in industry for quite a while, they're not the tools that people are using. People are recommended to use autopsy, open source tools, and that just doesn't fly in cybersecurity, to be honest. We need tools that are actually going to allow you to like remotely image a machine, things that aren't open source. That's just not going to work in a court. You can't be using open source tools, and the tools that we do need, the unis are just really not getting the funding to give us. we're behind on industry trends. So unless you're doing those extracurriculars like this, you're not really going to learn what's, going on in the industry. We've got limited industry partnerships. So that's between the universities themselves. Universities aren't tending to form these industry partnerships to help students get those first seats in placements and to help them come in, give talks. That's very crucial to have actual professionals coming into universities, giving a talk to the students. Sometimes when you're new, it can really be an eye-opener that you've got a lot to learn and you can't just go to your classes and kind of expect to rock up on your last day with a job, which I think even some final years still haven't had that bubble burst yet. Balancing work and studies. Now, this is a real big one. As universities tend to say, your studies do come first, but what about getting that hands-on experience that's required by professionals? Not all students can afford to be just in studies, and even getting those soft skills. I mean, even in a retail job, you're learning how to interact with clients, you're learning how to publicly talk to people, you're really building those soft skills. So it's not really a case nowadays where you can only go to university to study. You must be balancing work at the same time. So a lot of students don't have time for extracurriculars outside and certifications and degrees. So bringing me back to my first point, we always see professionals talking about certificates, certificate this, certificate that, but what are the certificates that freshers are supposed to be learning, second years? I mean, I don't know if any of you have met a fresher, but they definitely don't know what they're supposed to be, what certificate they're supposed to be learning. A lot of final years don't know what certificates they're supposed to be learning. I mean, most people don't agree what certificate you're supposed to be learning. And it's a little bit of a case of it's too little, too late. People who realize they needed these certificates are applying for industry placements, they're applying for graduate jobs, and they don't have them. And they're up against candidates at other universities who have been taught this. They're up against people who have got connections within the industry who have been taught what certificates they're supposed to do. And we just don't have them coming in and telling us what we need to be doing. So that brings me on to how do we actually close this skill gap? I've spoke about it, I've said what a problem it is, but how do we fix it? So cybersecurity labs, a lot of universities have them, but are a lot of universities up to date? We need industry to really collaborate, consider sponsoring a cybersecurity lab. We need up-to-date tools, technologies. It'd be great even if you could come in, give us a little glimpse into what technologies people are supposed to be learning about, and capture the flag competitions. That's definitely one of my goals this year as president. I definitely want to get more people involved in capture the flags, like I spoke about just. It's everyone's first real experience into a real world kind of hands-on experience. Capture the flags, teamwork, lots of soft skills going on there. Yep, we've got to get on it. And emerging technologies. I think it's important for lecturers and professionals to really give these talks, even if you dedicate like 10, 15 minutes to discussing like a little round table moment of what technologies are coming out in the industry, just so students know what they're supposed to be going home and researching. It's one thing to say to them, research emerging technologies. What are the emerging technologies? We've got all this AI in the media, but what does that mean for cybersecurity professionals? What are real worlds? Yep. Always food. So the emerging technologies, students need to know what these emerging technologies are that they're trying to learn. It really helps sometimes if you can just give them a little nudge in the direction, because these problems I'm bringing to you are really things that should be addressed in first year, and I'm telling you that they're not being addressed. People are finding out that in their final years when it's really hard to catch up on the people who did already know. Real world case studies is bringing back lecturers, professionals who are coming to give talks. We don't discuss and study real world instances. Maybe we cover them for 5 minutes just to have like a little bit of an example of what we're learning, but no one really studies actual case studies in the real world. I mean, you hear other professions do it when they're in university studying towards their degree, but we don't. I mean, we have so many like famous cases of incidents that no one learns about, and this is what people are going to be going into. It's the perfect example to learn so many different areas of how people combated things that went wrong, things that could be improved. No one talks on it. Increasing industrial placement opportunities. I think cybersecurity is one of the ones that are really lacking. There's so many software engineering placements and not enough cybersecurity placements. I have spoken to so many professionals about this and the reasoning, and the general consensus seems to be that no one really trusts an intern dealing with their security. What if we mess things up? Well, that's part of the learning process, guys. How are we going to bridge this gap if people don't? You talk about we've got to have these safe environments to make mistakes. Guest lectures and workshops. If you're a professional here or you know someone that is, maybe you could get someone to come in, give guest lectures, do a workshop with people. I mean, I'm all for it. If you want to get in contact with me, we can do you a guest lecture or a workshop. And mentorship. I think loads of programs actually are launching up. I mean, I know that Southwest Cybersecurity Cluster is working on mentorship programs. There's so many people working on mentorship programs, but there's not really a lot of professionals wanting to mentor. Once again, I think they're scared we're going to break their systems. Yeah, don't let the 18-year-olds on your cybersecurity. But industry recognized certifications, we're going back to the first point. What are the industry recognized certifications? No one's telling us. They're just saying, get your certificates, get your degree, and no one actually knows what these certificates needed are. We need to go back to that first point. But for students really need to get involved with cybersecurity clubs and organizations. There's really not a lot of them. I mean, think of now how many students there are at a uni and how many are in the room tonight. Not many people are getting involved with these kind of events, and I don't think people know about them. I mean, it's a growing number. Yeah, it's a growing number.
Twice the amount of people I've ever seen.
It's always the professionals. The professionals seem to understand. The students seem to not really want to know about it. I don't think they realize how important these kind of nights are. And leading on to the next point of engaging with professionals, these are the events to engage with the professionals that people keep telling you to. Yeah, are people yeah, I think this is one of the first events I've been to where there's been more students than professionals potentially, which big win there for us all. So we need more joint curricular development. So it'd be great if some of the unis could consult with actual like industry professionals, not just like locally. I've spoken to quite a few students and their curricula just doesn't seem to match up with real world events. I mean, it is difficult, right? It's always changing, but when a course is like 10 years out of date, well, industrial placement options, we've spoken about this a lot, but if you have a chance to kind of help someone think you've got a little bit of a headcount space, consider hiring a placement student or degree apprenticeships. They're up and coming, right? I've spoken to a lot of people who have done degree apprenticeships, and that's a great way to get your hands-on experience while also training up someone that will eventually work for you. Collaborative projects. So personally, for me at uni, collaborative projects really mean your company working on an assignment for a university. So for me, we have a collaborative project with JP Morgan locally, where they will help with the project. They will come in and assess the project with the students. This helps everyone. They get credit for it. The students get a fun day. Whoever wins, they get to go see the industry in person. I know a few people have been to that probably in the room. And that was great. It really gave everyone a taste. Having that industry perspective on a project really helps kind of make it more realistic of a project to have instead of just this theory where you get sucked into this make-believe scenario. It's a bit more real. Which brings me on to the next one, industry simulations. There are plenty of up-and-coming industry simulations where you'll put students in a simulation as if they're real, make them act out perhaps a past attack that's famous. I've took part in a few of these. I took part in a ticketing. This personally, for an industry simulation, was the first experience I'd ever had in a ticketing system. I'd never learned ticketing systems before, and that's huge in industry response. You need ticketing. So that really prepared me, but we don't have a lot of those available to us. And it seems so obvious to go in and just give them a little bit of taste of what you do in your everyday life. Certifications, we spoke a lot about them, that students really need to know, but we haven't spoke about careers fairs. So for a lot of students, they go to careers fairs. This is their only time they really look at what recruiters want in an applicant. And they realize they get there, oh no, I've got none of them. What do they need? I'm not prepared. This can be a lot of students' wake-up call. First years, second years, all of them. You go to a careers fair, you realize, perhaps I've not got what it takes and I need to start building up my certificates. And networking events. So things like this tonight are really crucial. I mean, I don't think I'd have made it where I am today without the networking events. A lot of students don't really utilize them. They really should. But just really keep doing what you're doing. Keep going to networking events. I mean, things like this, great. But in conclusion, well, oh. Oh, but in conclusion, I don't want to seem like it's blaming academia or the industry. Really, it's a combined problem, but no one really wants to want to address it. But it's a collaborative effort, right? But Q&A. But if anyone really, I'm here to learn from you guys. I mean, I'm in the position now at a university where I'm able to make a bit of a difference. So I really want to learn from the students, from the professionals, how I can help close the gap. But I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have. Yeah. Yeah, so for me, and a lot of students, we do like an overall cybersecurity at university. So we don't know these different niches. So even if you came in and gave a talk on what your day-to-day looks like, it could really help students know what path they kind of want to specialize in. And then by the time they get to that applicant process, they've got those specialized skills to apply for incident response, threat intelligence, you know? They've got those specialized skills, which really helps them stand out from just cybersecurity. So when we had one before, it was for a prototype that they were building that was going to be a ticketing system. It was everyone's first attempt at a ticketing system, and we had red team, blue team, and the red team was the professionals. So we were defending against this system that this was the first time. Did you took part in one of them? Did it help? Yeah. Yeah, so any kind of event your kind of company has gone through that you think you could share, you could simulate, maybe not the same, but in a different way, the same kind of attack, maybe. Students haven't actually seen what a real attack looks like. You could go in, replicate that, expect how would you defend against it, and then explain at the end what you did, how you would supposed to defend against this.
In your placement, obviously you're now more familiar with the incident response than I am. If you could bring maybe like one or two pieces of software back from industry with you, give it to like 10 years and stuff and have it on.
Yeah.
What would you pick?
We use a lot of Sentinel-1. I don't think we've ever touched a Sentinel-1. We'd never learned ticketing systems. I would definitely bring any ticketing system, honestly. Would be great to have. Literally anything. We've never done any. We don't learn. No, it's not even. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, literally a free one. Yeah, it doesn't have to be expensive. Just implement a free ticketing system, which can go hand in hand with literally any of these industry simulations or anything. If you're doing an industry simulation, bring in a ticketing system so that they can learn how you do a ticket, how you complete a ticket, how you add information to the ticket. But no one does it. Yeah. And it's one of those things that if you don't do it at uni, you won't do it until you get to industry. And then you're really behind. Yeah, you're blindsided. You're like, yeah. Exactly. It's small things. Is there anyone else?
I think your issue is not only about cybersecurity.
Yeah.
It's all about for the software engineer.
Mhm.
I think you guys more need the boot camp kind of thing. So with too many mentors, and
Mhm.
then the students come to a real life projects involved. So the students pay and companies bring their real life projects with some mentors and professional. So this kind of thing, the students can earn more experience.
Yeah, I think so many students be willing to pay for this kind of thing. If a mentor was willing to come in, do a simulation, so many people be willing to pay. And it's definitely not a cybersecurity thing. I've spoken to other people on different courses, different professionals, and there's definitely a skill gap in level of code taught. When you move into programming and things like that. And we are going to touch on that hopefully in my role as well in workshops. But obviously, my personal specialty is cybersecurity, so I can't help all of them, but I hope to do just what I can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.